we're going to look at two stories in Mark chapter 6 today. And the first one, if you've ever heard people say that they think the Bible isn't reliable or can't be true because it's probably just a bunch of stories people made up, um, I think that this first story is actually one that kind of shows some of the validity of the Bible, because if Jesus's disciples were just making these stories up, just kind of like coming up with stories to make Jesus and uh, the leaders of the church sort of look good, they would probably not put in stories that are kind of like, I can't explain it, like embarrassing, or just sort of like strange. They would probably just tell stories that all make Jesus and his ministry look really good and flashy and easy. And this first one is like sort of a strange story. So let me read it and then we'll talk about it. It says, Jesus left there and went to his hometown accompanied by his disciples. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were amazed. Where did this man get these things? They asked. What's this wisdom that has been given him? What are these remarkable miracles he's performing? Isn't this the carpenter? Isn't this Mary's son, and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon? Aren't his sisters here with us? And they took offense at him. Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor except in his own town, among his relatives, and in his own house. He could not do any miracles there except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them. And he was amazed at their lack of faith. And so the reason I said that this story was kind of strange or even like embarrassing is Jesus here is in his hometown, and people are sort of offended by him and not really believing him, and they're not really giving a reason for it. They're just saying, um, "Isn't this the guy that grew up here?" Like it's almost like Jesus is so familiar to them that they can't believe that he would um, be able to I guess be doing anything special. Sort of, he's just so familiar that the idea of like truly believing in him, believing he's doing these miracles, or just listening to his wisdom, they just don't want to deal with it because it's so familiar to them. Um, and if that seems strange to you, um, I would just have you think for a second about your own experience in the church and with the Bible and just in Christianity. Because I think sometimes growing up in the Bible Belt, and if you're someone who grew up in church, we can sometimes be people who are who struggle to really listen and believe and see the approach Christ with awe. And I think sometimes it becomes so familiar to us that we just don't care about it. Whereas if you go to other countries, if you go to um, like parts of Asia or India, where it's just not normal every Sunday things to hear about Jesus, and when they do hear about the Bible or when they do become Christians, they just are so excited to hear the word, and they memorize the word and they cherish the word, and they're willing to like face persecution to live it out. Whereas those of us who see it every day are kind of like, oh yeah, that's my Bible. I leave it on my shelf and it's collecting dust. It's no longer something we really treat with awe, like the truth that it is. We might say like, yeah, I guess I know that it's true, but like at the same time, it's just so familiar to us that it almost loses its power. I think that's what's happening with Jesus here. Is these people are so familiar with him that their only argument for why they're not listening is like, I I'm familiar with him, and he's Mary's son. And so it says here that like because they weren't really believing and having faith in him and trust in him, he wasn't able to do what he was typically able to do. And again, it's not like there isn't. These people know and see that he's able to do miracles and stuff, but they just don't have a heart to really trust and want to treat him like the king. That's the theme of Mark, the king that he is, and they don't really want to follow him. So um, anyway, that's I think an application for us is like, do we sometimes let our familiarity with Jesus make it so that we don't really follow him like he's king and Lord and the Son of God? Um, and then the second story, I won't spend much time talking about it, but I will read it. So starting in verse 6, it says, then Jesus went around teaching from village to village. Calling the 12 to him, he began to send them out two by two and gave them authority over impure spirits. These were his instructions. Take nothing for your journey except a staff. No bread, no bag, no money in your belt. Wear sandals, but not an extra shirt. Whenever you enter a house, stay there until you leave that town. And if any place will not welcome you or listen to you, leave that place and shake the dust off from your feet as a testimony against them." They went out and preached that people should repent. And they drove out many demons and anointed many sick people with oil and healed them. So here Jesus is multiplying his ministry. Okay. Yeah, I think we've seen crowds, so many crowds are following Jesus. I think Jesus knows he can't, as one person on earth, like reach the people he wants to reach. So he's sending his 12 out to multiply his ministry and saying, I'm empowering you to do what I was doing. I want you to teach. I want you to do this ministry, um, so that more people can hear it. And I think specifically his main instructions are, I want you to trust God and trust that you'll be taken care of, because I don't want you relying on your own money. I don't want you relying on any house that you have or whatever. I want you to just rely on me and just trust that I've put people in these towns you're going to who are going to listen and are going to take care of you. And if they don't listen, kind of like that parable of the seed, if people just aren't going to listen to it, that seed's not going to grow, just go to the next town and keep scattering that seed. And so they have to trust him. And it says at the end that they were able to do what he said they were going to do. And their trust like proved to be worthwhile because they were able to do this ministry and do the mission Jesus called them to.